This is a video that everyone has been asking for. This is going to be the side-by-side comparison of eXp Realty versus Real Broker. So there's a lot to get through today, guys. This is going to be a long video, but if we were going to put this out, it had to be a fully comprehensive video. Okay, we're not going to shortchange you. As you'll see, we're going to go into more detail today than you'll see on any video, any breakdown, anywhere on the internet. We have spent about 20 hours with our team getting all these numbers, getting the side-by-side comparisons. So if these two cloud-based agent-owned brokerages are something that you're thinking about joining or moving over to, watch this video before you make a move. So here's how it's going to roll out. We're going to talk about the growth and history of each company. Then we're going to talk about actually what the agents can make there in terms of compensation, in terms of revenue share, in terms of stock awards, and compare and break down all three of those. Then we're going to jump into some real concerns that I have going forward and looking at different things that nobody actually is telling you out there. Public knowledge, everything is in the ICAs, but no one's actually putting that information out there. So we're going to kind of look at those and then we'll kind of wrap all up from there. So there's a lot to dive into, and I want to get this out there because you have to make informed decisions in this business. You can't be making emotional, rash decisions where you're like, well, it'll be okay if I just do this or whatever that looks like. You need the information. We have broken it down so you don't have to. So without further ado, here we go, guys. eXp Realty versus Real Broker. Let's do it. All right, guys, so before we jump into this, and this is going to be the most comprehensive breakdown you have seen of this side-by-side comparison with eXp Realty and Real Broker, I just want to state for the record that everything we're going to look at today is all public knowledge. You can find this on the company's websites, different places like that. It's all company knowledge. Everything that's being broken down right now, as it stands at the time of this recording, is all company policy. Of course, companies can change their operations as they go, but as of right now, this is exactly what these two brokerages are doing. And also, as you guys may know, I am at eXp Realty. So before everyone starts thinking this is going to be a biased conversation, we're going to break down numbers and facts with this comparison. And, you know, I'll talk about at the end why I'm at the brokerage I'm at, but this is going to be a fair breakdown in terms of everything we go in terms of agent compensation. Okay, we're not going to dive into the company's financial structures or anything like that, you know, behind the line stocks, all that good stuff. This is truly just going to be on how agents, which is you and I, are compensated through these two brokerages. And I know a lot of going on. I know people at eXp, I know people at Real, I know people who have left eXp to go to Real, I know people who have left Real to go to eXp. So there's a lot that's gone into this presentation. Myself and my team have spent over 20 hours putting all this stuff together and going through it comprehensively. So we are going to break this down in depth, okay? So strap in, get ready, let's jump in. Okay, so let's start with company growth. Now, eXp Realty was founded in 2009 and Real Broker started in 2014. Now, from 2009 to 2014, eXp had 800 agents, okay? 800 agents. So that was the head start they had before Real Broker took off. Now, at this current moment, this is actually need to be updated, but eXp is about 78,000 and growing at the time of this recording. And Real Broker is currently at about 4,000 agents and growing. So that's a 73 or 74 if it's, you know, 78,000, but a 73 on this paper here, difference in agents in the same time frame from 2014 to 2022. That's a massive, massive difference in growth. And there has to be reasons behind that growth, why one has skyrocketed and why one has not. And a lot of agents are, you know, say to me, hey, but Real's the new eXp. And it's not really an argument because it started in 2014, you know, like that's 8 years ago. It's not new if it's 8 years ago. So saying it's a new eXp doesn't make sense. The fact that a lot of branding has come out and they are, you know, now advertising a lot more. A lot of people think it's a brand new company, but it's actually not. And you can see from this that the numbers don't lie. It's grown to 4,000 since 2014, and eXp has grown from 800 to 77,000 plus agents from there. Okay, so just something to take into consideration on company growth. And now let's go ahead and dig into our fees. Okay, so let's jump into brokerage fees and compensation. At eXp Realty is an 80-20 split with a $16,000 cap. The GCI to cap is about $80,000. A real broker is an 85-15 split. So upfront, you're getting more money from your deals, and a cap of $12,000, which is lower. But the GCI to cap is also $80,000. So even though it's a higher split with a lower cap, it's still the exact same gross commission income that you have to make to cap at both brokerages. So the big thing with fees is we want to look at post-cap transaction fees, okay? So at eXp, after you cap, you go 100%, and it's $250 per transaction for your fees until you hit $5,000, when then you become an Icon agent. If you're not sure what that is, there's a lot to jump into. I have another video on Icon agents, but you become an Icon agent and then it reduces to $75 per transaction. Okay, so 250 until you hit 5,000 and then down to 75,000. Okay, now let's look at Real Broker. It's $225 indefinitely. So forever, you're paying $225 on your transactions. Now, upfront, again, that's a $25 difference. But if you are a producer, if you're a team leader, if you're doing any kind of volume, then you can see that in the long run, you're going to be spending less on fees at eXp Realty, and at Real, that 225 is going to stay the same forever. So there's little increment differences. It might not be an insane amount of money that you're saving, but the fees do still come down on the side of eXp and stay where they are at Real Broker. Okay, so let's look at fees. Both brokerages have a startup fee of $149. This is in the US, which is I'm basing everything. Obviously, different countries that open up have different structures, but 80% of our company is inside of the US. So let's just stay with that for this example. So $149 for your startup fee. At eXp, you have an $85 a month ongoing brokerage fee, which pays for technology, CRM, all that stuff. And then you have a transactional review of $25 per deal and E&O at $40 per deal. Okay, but that caps at $500 for the year. Now at Real, you have your startup fee of $149, and then you have a complete brokerage fee of $500 for the year, $250 paid from your first two transactions. So in the long run, you can see now, if you're doing, I think we calculated the number was like 34 deals. So if you're a producer doing about 34 deals, it becomes cheaper at eXp because those cap transaction fees come down and Real stay the same. For your startup kind of, everyday agent, maybe a brand new agent, at Real, it might be a little bit cheaper to start with until you become any kind of producer with your volume. So that is our fees. Let's move on to our CRM. eXp, we have KV Core, which is widely considered to be one of the best CRMs in the industry, and at Real, it is an option to have Chime, which is $25 a month. So we get KV Core for free at eXp. Chime costs you $25 a month, which adds up to about $300 per year. Now we've talked to people who have gone back and forth from each brokerage, and the consensus is that they're very similar. Chime is set up more like a kind of dialer system, like your kind of Vulcan 7 style kind of thing, where KV Core is set up more like a lead gen CRM, like a back end. Your customers and your clients can go on and search houses, all that good stuff. So they're set up a little bit differently. But really, if you take this into consideration, if you opt in for that Chime CRM and you're paying $300 a year, the big argument with a lot of people is like, hey, Real's fees are so much cheaper. But really, if you start to add all this up, it's really the difference of about $250 per year between eXp and Real. I think Real, all of this combined makes about $800 per year in fees, and eXp is about maybe about $1,010, $1,020, something like that. So, when you look at this, about $250 of difference throughout a whole entire calendar year, it really isn't a big difference at all. And if you're about to keep watching this and see some of the other stuff that we're going to be talking about in terms of fee structure and how much money you're going to make, then that kind of pales into insignificance. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. Now, before we move on and kind of jump into anything any further, I do want to say that I love that these brokerages exist. Okay, eXp Real, some other ones that are cloud-based, that are giving more back to the agents, that are trying to do something more active that lets agents retire and have different streams of income. Like, I love it. Okay, so it's not just a straight like, kill shot on Real or whatever that kind of may come off as. I really do love that brokerages now are starting to turn to this kind of model where they realize the value of agents and they realize that they have to give back to them in order to create a sustainability in their business. Okay. So I just don't want anyone to get that twisted before we start moving in here, because we're going to get into the dirt right now. So let's go ahead and move on to our revenue share plans. So now we're getting into some of the stuff that is kind of a little dicey, a little scary here. So let's look at the revenue share plans. At eXp on the left here, you have 7 tiers inside of your business. On Real side on the right here, you have 5 tiers inside of your business. So straight away, you're giving up 2 tiers of your business. And whether you like this term or not, you can see that this is structured like a pyramid, okay? Not a pyramid scheme, but structured like a pyramid, as is any brokerage in the world, okay? So having these 2 different businesses, the bottom 2 in this kind of structure always make the most amount of money, or they always should anyway. So losing those 2 businesses and going down to 5 is quite a substantial deal when we break down the math here. But it's very powerful when you see this, because if you're looking at, a traditional brokerage like Remax or whatever, if you're a team leader or you own a franchise, you have agents underneath you, and you have 1 tier of business underneath you trying to support you and build an income. With eXp and Real, you have multiples underneath. You have 2 more over at eXp and 5 at Real. So let's jump into something that a lot of people don't talk about inside of revenue share, which is the 3 types of revenue share models that are around. So there is the full qualification model, the no qualification model, and the hybrid qualification model. Okay, so a no qualification model would mean that it doesn't matter what you're doing personally. Everyone inside of your organization kind of makes you money, makes you the full amount of money that you are sponsoring agents for, and it's all good to go. Okay, none of these 2 structures are built like that. So let's look at Real. Real is a full qualification model. What does that mean? Well, it means that you have to have 10 plus producing agents to make this 4% to your annual cap of $3,200. Okay, so you have to have 10 producing agents, or you get nothing from the other people in the organization. Okay, so to unlock your tier 2, you have to have 10 or more producing agents, and you get nothing until that is done. Now we look at eXp, we have a hybrid model of revenue share. So if you look on the left here, this expansion share number right here, these are qualifying numbers of agents you need to unlock these tiers to get the full amount. But even if you haven't unlocked them yet, you still get compensated in a small way, but still in a way until you unlock that structure. Okay, so let's look at both these tier 2s here. Tier 2 for Real, you need 10 plus producing agents, so FLQAs, qualifying agents who are doing deals, to unlock your tier 2. Okay. At eXp, you need 5 to unlock your tier 2, but even if you haven't unlocked it, you will still get this number here. Okay, so it's a hybrid model. So right away, you have less stress about unlocking those tiers quickly, so you can actually still bring in revenue from agents underneath you. So let's look at an objection that I was talking to with an agent the other day. They were saying, well, look at our tier 1. Our tier 1, we get $4,000, and on your tier 1 is only $2,800. And I'm like, yep, absolutely. I totally get that. But if you look at these models, it is built in that structure of that pyramid. And where are your biggest 2 businesses always going to be? It's on your bottom tiers. Your bottom tiers are always going to be the biggest over time that build out. Even if you're not trying to build out an organization, if you bring on agents and they decide to build out too, like, it's just going to happen. It's almost unavoidable. When I came over to eXp, I actually wasn't trying to build this out at all. I was just trying to do my thing, and all of a sudden it blew up. So even if you're like not thinking about this, in the future, it's bound to happen regardless, So when you look at this, yes, you might think, okay, well, I just want to build out my first tier and it's 4,000 per agent, and that's great. But if you look at the way this is structured here, like I said, your bottom businesses are always going to be your biggest. So if you look at the bottom tier here for Real, it's the smallest compensation. If you look at eXp, the bottom tier is the biggest compensation. All right, so two major differences here if things are going to build out long term. And here's another thing that you have to keep in mind, like we were talking about, you have to unlock these agents to get any kind of money off a reel. So if things build out big underneath you and you're not really bothered about it, you're just building out your one little tier here. So say you only have, 5 agents, but one of them has built out this mega structure of teams, like hundreds of agents, hundreds. You're not going to see any of that, none at all, because you don't have your 10 producing agents. You're going to see none of that revenue from that big play. Whereas over here at eXp, you're still going to see that expansion share, even if you're not building out anything underneath those agents. So if you have those same 5 agents and that one person is building out a huge organization, you're still going to get all these percentages built up over time and create that income, regardless of whether you're building or not. So you really have to take that into consideration. It's not as black and white as it seems when you really start to dig into the numbers and how these revenue share organizations, the duplication actually works. It's crazy what will actually happen here. So in my humble opinion, over here, looking at this model, eXp are giving more back to the agents every single time. Here, Real is getting the money back in their bank account because you're not unlocking anything and you're getting zero from all of these producing agents. So last thing I want to touch on this slide here is the tiny little fine print right at the bottom there on the slide for Real. Agents must be producing. They need to produce $450 in revenue to Real in the prior 6 months to remain in producing status. What does that mean? It means you have to be a producing agent in order to receive revenue share. So no matter what happens in the future, if you are like, man, this revenue share is awesome, I just want to retire, I want to kick back, you can't do that. You have to be a producing agent to take that revenue share and get it from all the agents underneath you. Okay. At eXp, that's not the case. You don't have to be doing anything at all. You just have to have an active real estate license to be able to get this income. And if you look at some of the leaders in eXp that are in my group, some of them are making upwards of $500,000 to $1 million per month. None of them do deals because they have come from a top producing, status, come into this company, figured out that this is a massive play, built up organizations, and now they just run them properly. And they don't have time for deals because they're helping all their agents with their deals and their growth and everything else. So if you think that you're going to be able to build this huge organization out and also do deals and then retire, you can only do that at one company. Okay, you don't have to do deals over eXp in order to gain the revenue share. At Real, you're always going to have to do it. And for me, that's not what I'm all about. In like 10 years' time, I want to be out of production, maybe less than that. I want to be out of production. I just want to run the team, run my business, and receive revenue share and that income generation. I don't want to be having to figure out, I have to do deals. Because even though when you think about it, one deal every 6 months, it might not be a big deal, but like when you're retired, if you still have that in the back of your mind, like, oh man, my income's not going to happen because I haven't done a deal yet. I need to get a deal. Like I don't want to be living like that. I just want to retire, kick back, run the team and do my thing. So huge caveat, which is in the final small print on the bottom of that slide. It is a big deal if you're thinking about your long-term future. And even right now, in your short-term future, in a market which is starting to change, things can go up, things can go down. Sometimes you have a dry spell. So what if that dry spell lasts for 6 months, but you have this massive revenue share organization built up where you're like, cool, at least I have that income coming in. If you have a dry spell and you're not doing any deals, you're going to get zero from Real. Real is going to pay you zero amount because you've had a dry spell or you've had a family crisis or something has happened which is taking you away from doing deals. That other income goes away. So now every income you have from that brokerage goes away. At eXp, if something happens, you have a dry spell, you have an emergency, you have something going on with your family, you can still rely on all that income coming in as long as you have your active license in place. So it's a major thing to be thinking about. So just so you can see that point up front, here are the revenue share requirements in both of the ICAs of the company. You can see on eXp's side that you just have to be in good standing with the real estate commission, with your license, all that good stuff, and pay your fees to the company and the MLS. On Real, you have to be a producing agent who has contributed $450 to the company in the last 6-month period, which means you have to be doing deals and cannot go ahead and retire from the business. So I want to jump into something else here, which is probably the most kind of mind-blowing thing for me, having been at eXp for a while now and seeing how our group has become the #1 successful group, fastest growing in the company, and why it wouldn't work at Real, why what we do would not work over here, and why I think people have to be paying attention to these things if you have something of value to give. So sponsorship requirements, let's look at eXp over here. Selecting a sponsor is an important decision and should be based on who has been most influential in your decision to join eXp Realty. Sponsor selection is part of this legally binding agreement. A sponsor's sole requirement to qualify as a sponsor is selection by joining agent as having been the most influential person in their decision. So basically, you're sponsoring people to come on because you've influenced to do so. But the big thing is here, if you look at this, is the sole responsibility of joining agent to confirm the sponsor's ability and intent to deliver all additional support promised. Okay, so the additional support is the big thing here. What additional support can we promise you? What can we give you to make sure that you succeed in this business? So for us, that's huge. If you know my partners, Mike Gerard, Connor Steinbrook, Pat Hayes, 7 tiers up, we have an insane amount of support that we give to our agents. We have social agent masterminds. We have power calls with leaders of the industry, with leaders of business that come on every single week with our teams. We have a whole hub for onboarding, for production, for revenue share. It's the most support that anyone has ever seen inside of the company at eXp. And it's one of the reasons why we have blown up and all our agents are absolutely killing it, using free strategies to build $1 million businesses in their first years of real estate with some of the examples in our group. So having all this knowledge that we give to our agents for free, we don't pay it, we don't have them pay anything additional. We just give them it and like, let's go. Like, it's huge for us. It's huge for our growth and it's huge for them because our goal is to help people change their lives, to help people get into this industry and create financial freedom. So with all the knowledge that we have, 7 tiers up, all the support systems that we have, there's no one that you would join at eXp over us. It doesn't make any sense. Now, let's look at our group and what we do. And if we move to Real, what would happen? So let's look at Real. The sponsoring agent, if any, is defined as the agent who, through introduction and explanation of the company's business model and potential benefits, in the licensee's determination, most influence the contractor to become an agent with the company. So similar, right? Who influenced you to come to the company? Okay, that's your sponsor. Awesome. But here we've got the bottom thing here, prohibition against sponsorship offerings. Now, pay attention. Listen, what I just told you about everything that we do for our agents. Any offering, enticement, or promise of anything of value made by an existing agent of the company to a potential licensee with an intention of having the licensee name the agent as the referral agent or sponsor is strictly prohibited. Any agent who is shown through his or her actions to have acted in this manner is subject to separation from the company and forfeits all future revenue share. Agent hereby agrees that they will indemnify and hold harmless company for any such separation. So what are Real saying here? You cannot give anything additional to your agents. You can't teach them how to do things. You can't give them masterminds. You can't give them courses. Nothing like that. You're not allowed. You are prohibited in doing that. So let's dig into that for a second, because there's a few things here. One, if you're truly a builder, if you truly want to help people, if you want to have people grow inside of your company, how can you do that in this landscape when someone's preventing you from doing so? Even saying, hey, if you promise this and do it, like, you're gone. You're separated from the company. How crazy is that? The other part of this is what Real are saying is like, hey, you need to just rely on us to do all the training, all the teaching, everything else. Or agents just could go and find it themselves. They can pay thousands of dollars for courses. They can go to masterminds themselves. They can pay for all the things they need to learn. You can't help them. Doesn't matter if you're a top producer, doesn't matter if you know everything, all the secrets in the industry, you can't do that. You can't promise it. So how are we going to build here? How are you going to promise them anything? How are you going to help them through this business? It's like, I just don't understand this. And it's a huge, huge difference if you're looking to build out revenue share and you have something to offer people. You can only do it at one company. Now, here's another point that I'm going to touch on within this kind of part here. A lot of the strong agents and top producers that I know personally who have gone over to Real recently have been incentivized by six-figure stock options. Much like Compass, when I was at Compass, everyone was getting that compensation offer with stock options. Okay, so a lot of people are being incentivized that, but what just happened? How can you be incentivized to come over with certain stock options and things that are going to be awesome for you, but you can't offer anyone else any kind of incentivized, things to come over there? So Real can offer you things and get you to come over, but you can't offer that to any of the agents. So what does that say about what the company can do and what the agents can do? It doesn't match up. The message is completely intertwined. It doesn't make sense. Real can do one thing, but you can't do something inside of Real. So that doesn't make sense. The other thing is, if you look at, and this happened with Compass as well, if I'm Real and I'm paying you six figures in stock options to come over, I'm going to focus on you. I'm going to help you build. I'm going to try and do everything I can in my power to help you. Whereas other agents, I'm just going to let do their thing. And that's a big thing, what I think is stunting their growth and why they're not growing as quickly as any other brokerages, because they want a return on their investment. If they're giving you six figures in stock to come over, you better believe they want you to produce and build the company out. At eXp, there's no incentive. Okay, we don't incentivize for anything. No one has ever got that. We don't play that game. We just have such a value add and such a value proposition, and especially within our organization, that we get top producers coming over all the time. So what that says to me, for a brokerage who does that, is that they're not confident enough in their value proposition to bring over top producing agents, top producing teams, without incentivizing them with an upfront reward. Okay, so let's jump into stock awards at both brokerages. And one thing I will say is that it's awesome that brokerages are doing this, giving agents ownership in the business. It's the biggest difference for me. Why would you be at a brokerage who isn't having you do this and buy into ownership inside of their company? We always talk about how, people shouldn't rent, they should buy homes. It's the same thing with your business. Why are you renting from a Remax, from a Compass, from whatever, and not buying into the stock and ownership of the company? So the equity opportunities for each of these are actually very, very similar. The sustainable equity plan at eXp is very similar to the stock and attracting agents right here. The Icon Agent Award at eXp is very similar to Elite Agent at Real, and the Agent Equity Program is very similar to the Purchase Stock #1 at Real Broker. Okay, let's look into our first option here, which is Agent Stock Purchase. Now, at eXp Realty, before and after capping, you can take 5% of your net commission and buy it. Okay, let's look at the agent stock purchase plan for both brokerages. At eXp, before and after capping, you can take 5% of your net commission and purchase stock at a 10% discount. At Real Broker, you can take 5% of your net commission and purchase stock with a 25% additional bonus after 1 year. Now, this is set to reduce to 15% once Real reaches 5,000 agents. That's before capping. After capping, you can get 10% of your net commission to purchase stock with a 50% additional bonus after 1 year. And again, that is set to reduce to 30% at 5,000 agents. So it's going to reduce. It was honestly kind of similar at eXp at the very, very start. They were giving more away and quickly brought that down. Now, the big thing you need to look at here is your max contribution if you're looking at an ROI. Now, before capping at Real, you can make $3,400 in stock for the year. After capping, you can make $15,000. So for a total, it's $18,400 in stock if you set up your agent stock purchase plan. Now, if you are a kind of lower producer or just getting started in the business, that's an awesome number. But if you're a top producer, if you are, killing it, doing a ton of deals, then you're limited to that amount of stock every single year, okay? Which is kind of what we see as like a 401k plan for realtors, right? As your stock award program. Whereas at eXp over here, there is no limit to your contribution into this. So you can put away as you know, all your deals for the whole year, no limit to how much you're contributing into that stock purchase plan. Okay, next up is our capping and attracting stock awards. Okay, a whole different part of it. At eXp Realty, when you close your first transaction for the year, you get $200 worth of free company stock. After you cap, you get $400 worth of company stock. And whenever you sponsor an agent and they close their first deal, you get an additional $400 worth of company stock. All of this has a vesting period of 3 years. Real Broker, your first transaction, you get nothing. When you cap, you get 500 shares. Now it's shares, it's not a dollar amount. So whatever, you know, if it's set at $2, it'd be like $1,000 obviously worth in there. So it's 500 shares, which is set to reduce coming up here. And your sponsored agents, once they close their first deal, 250 shares, which is also set to reduce. And again, this has a vesting period of 3 years. Okay, so let's look at eXp's Icon Agent versus Real Broker's Elite Agent. So left-hand side, eXp total stock is $16,000 that you get back. 8,000 of that is for production awards. 4,000 of that is for cultural awards. And 2,000 of that twice is for attending eXp events like eXpCon or shareholders. Okay, so that's how it's all broken down. You get it all back. Your requirements for Icon is cap plus $5,000 in post-cap transaction fees. So that's like capping plus 20 transactions after you cap. Or the other requirement is $500,000 in GCI, including 10 transactions. Okay, so you could live in an area that's just like $1 million properties, multi-million-dollar properties. So as long as you've done 10 transactions and you've hit $500,000 in GCI, then you qualify for it as well, okay? Now, each of these has a different vesting period. Your production awards has a vesting period of 3 years. Your cultural awards has a vesting period of 2 years. And then the $2,000 twice for attending eXp events have no vesting period at all. So they're available straight away. Now, let's look at Real Broker. So total stock you get back is $24,000. $16,000 of that's for production awards, 8,000 is for cultural awards. The requirements are cap plus $6,000 in post-cap transaction. So that's cap plus about 27 transactions, or $500,000 in gross commission income, including 10 transactions. Now listen, with sales price over $1 million, okay? So if you look at eXp real quick, the $500,000 in GCI, including 10 transactions, you could do 9 like condos at $250,000 or whatever. And then you could get one deal that was like a 20 million, you know, mega mansion, whatever it is. And all those commissions would count together as one, okay, to get to that 500,000. At Real, the $500,000, the transactions have to be sales prices over $1 million if you're going to do it with the GCI of 500,000. Okay, so you have to be required, which is kind of weird to have like over $1 million price point, because you know you could be a luxury agent in a certain place, and you know luxury is like 600, 700,000. You know, like I don't know. It's just that one's kind of strange to me, but anyway, it is what it is. Vesting period, your 16,000 for production is a 3-year vesting period, and so is your cultural awards. That is 3 years as well. So let's look at something real quick. You know, I was talking to someone who went to Real, and they were saying, well, if I'm an Icon agent, if I'm a top producer, I get more stock back at Real than I do at eXp Realty, which is completely true. Obviously, it's black and white numbers right there. What I'm wary about really is emotional predictions or emotional decisions that people are making, you know, because the conversation is, well, if Real stock did what eXp's stock did, and the early adopters at eXp all became millionaires over like a 5-year period, you know, then, you know, it's going to happen for me at Real. And I hear that, but if you look at that agent growth that we looked at earlier, you know, why is it taking, you know, that amount of time to get to 4,000 agents at Real, whereas in the same time, eXp went from, you know, 800 agents to 78,000 agents? the growth pattern doesn't match up to the predictions of what you're saying might happen for real. Now we can never predict the stock market or what it's ever going to do, but when you have top producers who are getting paid in stock awards to go over, kind of similar to what Compass is doing, and at eXp there is no awards. It's just the actual company and the foundation of what we do, and the growth is more substantial. It's a gamble, right? It's definitely a gamble that you're going to take it. And people will say that, who go like, yeah, it's a gamble. I'm just going to go and see if it happens. And for me, I'm not a big gambler. I'm not big on that. I'd rather have a strong foundation, know exactly what I'm looking at, and build from there. So definitely a conversation that I've had about how much more stock you're getting back. But really, when you start looking at stock, you have to look into company structure, different stuff like that, which we're not going to break down in this video, but the information is all out there, and I would definitely advise you to do it. All right, let's switch gears and look into support structure for the agents, which is definitely a concern for me with the conversations I have had. Let's look at eXp Realty. We have a cloud-based virtual world, which has real-time support, multiple brokers in each state. We have about 2,000 employees. It's a little more than 1,900, but about 2,000 employees inside of the cloud, which comes out to about 41 agents per employee. Okay, if you break down that number. A real broker, you have a mobile app, which everything is based off of. You have to email for support. You have one broker in each state currently from the conversations that I've had. And they have 62 employees. Now that breaks down to 65 agents per employee. Now, as you'll see, I'm going to show you a demo here of eXp World and how instantaneous it is to get support in there. I've had stories from people I know at Real saying that, the broker went out of the country for vacation and they can't get any support. They have to email all the time to get it. And for me and for everyone who's a top producer and kind of has a lot of entrepreneurship experience, time is your most precious commodity. If you're wasting time on things, that is something you cannot ever get back, and you have to be focusing on time in your business. So if I'm having to wait and wait and wait for other people to help me, this is not a good structure for my business to grow. Whereas at eXp, I'm getting instant support, which I'll show you as we jump into the cloud. All right, guys, so I want to give you a quick demo inside of the cloud here. Now, before you say it, I know this is bonkers. When I first came in here, I was like, this is the dumbest thing on planet Earth, but it turns out it's one of the most powerful things inside of modern day real estate. So this is the eXp cloud. You can see all the countries we're open in. There's a bunch of things. There's a bunch of dumb stuff you can do, like a pirate ship. Anyway, what we're looking for is why this is so important and so much of a time saver. I'll show you right here. So if we click right here, we have all of our different departments inside of the cloud. Okay, so say we have a tech issue, right? If you have something going on with your CRM or your computer or whatever it is, if you have something going on with tech, we can come right here, go to the tech lobby, and we'll be instantly transported over there inside of the tech lobby here, and we can walk over. And let's see, what time is it? It's 2:30 in the afternoon, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 tech nerds who are there to help out with whatever. You just take a ticket, you sit down, you get your problem solved straight away. There's no waiting around, and I'm in and out. I'm sitting in my office right now, in and out in less than 5 minutes. Okay, let's have another example right here. Say we want to go into our broker stateroom. For me, I'm in Colorado. I can jump right in here. It will transport me over. And look who's here. All the staff here. I can go over right here, take tickets, managing brokers there, transaction specialists. Everyone's there willing to help you right now. These are real people who are just waiting to help you. If I move over there, they'll start chatting to me. So I'm going to stay over here. And, everything like that. There's the accounting as well. All this stuff, you can just jump in and get help straight away from the paid staff that we have there. So we're not waiting around. We're not emailing people. We're not having to go and visit a specific office, drive down to downtown and figure it all out. It's right there in the palm of your hand. So you can get your problem dealt with, get out of there and get back to work. Okay. So it's a massive, massive time saver for agents who are looking to be producers. Okay. So let's start summing things up, guys. These are the concerns that I have. All right. Now we look at the different styles of revenue share again, just to reiterate, there's a no qualification rev share plan, which none of these are. There's a qualification rev share plan, which real is, remember, where you have to be a qualifying agent to get this. So if you don't have all your tiers opened up, you're going to get none of the revenue share. And there's a hybrid that is eXp Realty, which obviously gets that expansion share that we talked about earlier. So that poses a massive, concern for me, because you're losing the two biggest tiers of your revenue share. Remember, eXp has 7 and Real has 5. So you're losing the two biggest ones, because in long term, what you'll see is your biggest tiers are your bottom ones where you make the most money. At least at eXp. At Real, that's not going to be the case. As you can see with the revenue share payout, it's in the company's favor for Real. So Real actually makes most of the money inside of the revenue share, whereas at eXp, they get 50% of every single dollar back to the agents. Okay, so it's a massive, massive concern for me when a brokerage is saying that we're going to reward agents, but are actually taking most of the revenue share and making it harder for you to qualify to make that from, your hard work of bringing people to the company. And then obviously that leads into the lack of the exit strategy or the retirement plan. At eXp, you can retire. You just have to keep your license active, but you can go and do whatever. You can go and live on the beach forever. As long as you can keep your real estate license in any state, then you're good to go. You will receive revenue share for the rest of your life. At Real is a different thing. You have to be producing. You have to do a deal, at least one deal every 6 months. So you're never going to be able to just chill and do your thing. If you get sick, if you're like, get really sick and you have to like lie around and not be doing anything, then you're not going to receive that, because you can't be doing deals at the same time. So big concern for me, really big one for that one. So let's talk about ownership of the company. That's a big thing. I'm not going to get too much into this, but for us, it's obviously mostly agent owned, or it's the CEO, CFO, everyone of the company, and the shareholders. But what will happen is we'll have the leadership people come to our call for our team, because we're one of the more prominent teams, and they'll say to us like, "Hey, what do you need? How's everything going? What do you think about this?" They'll take our opinions, they'll take our feedback, and they'll go and they'll make the best decisions for the company, for the agents. It's solely focused on the agents, and that's how all the decisions, all the major pivot points within the company are made. It's all internal, and it's all made with the mindset of making it better for the agent. Now let's look at Real. Real are majority owned by 3 venture capitalist companies. One of them is in Israel, and the other 2 are in Wall Street. So with that being said, let's think about how companies are run. With eXp, when it's majority agent owned, the decisions are being made for the furtherment of your business, for the agents to succeed and thrive inside of the company. At Real, you look at what venture capitalists do. They put money into things to what? To get return, to get an ROI, to make sure they get profit from the business. So are the decisions being made for the agents, or are the decisions being made for the return on investment? You decide. I'm just saying, the way I look at things, I know how kind of venture capitalist company works. I would imagine that the decisions being made for the investment return. Now, you can take what you want from that. I have not met these people. I don't know. Who knows? But when I look at things, that is a concern for me. When things aren't agent owned, they're not going in the favor of the agents. That's just the way I look at it. I'd love to hear what you think. You can drop in the comments and let me know. But that is the way I look at the organization of the ownership of the company. Next concern, like I was saying, I don't like I don't like hypocrisy. I don't like people saying one thing and doing another. So to see, from agents that we know, agents being incentivized to come over to the company, and having to be incentivized to come to the company, but yet they're not allowed to incentivize anyone else to come. It doesn't make sense for me. It's completely hypocritical, and I just don't understand why you would limit agents' growth in that way. I just do not like that you say one thing and you do another. There's no transparency with that. There's mixed communications, there's mixed signals. And, it speaks to me of what leadership is doing there and how that's being run. So it's a big no-no for me. All right, let's look at these stock predictions based on emotion. Again, any kind of prediction. If you're a realtor, you know, houses market predictions, you can't even do that. So predicting what's going to happen with a stock doesn't make any sense. You know, thinking it's going to go up, down, sideways, no one knows, you know. So predicting that based on emotion, saying, hey, we're going to gamble on this, just isn't a good call for me, you know. So being incentivized with the stock to go over there and gambling that it's going to go up is not really not good for me, especially when you look at the growth of the company side by side with eXp, what it's done. It doesn't add up for me. Like we've touched on, lack of value from the upline because you can't give any additional support, additional incentives to your downline at Real. The format of support, you know, I would much rather jump into the cloud, get access to one of the, you know, thousands of employees inside of the cloud instantaneously, like you saw in our demo there, than having to email back and forth to try and get support. And then lack of innovation, you know, everyone's like, oh, like Louis, you know, Reels, the innovation is crazy. You know, we have this app that we run things off of that, you know, was designed 10 years ago and you run things off of, and I get it. You know, you look at the biggest innovation that's happening right now. Everyone's saying, "Oh, the metaverse has come out, and it's amazing." This and that. We've been running that system for the last 12 years inside of the eXp universe here. You know, so if you look at the innovation on both sides, it doesn't compare. Now, with all that being said, you know, I get it. Some people are going to be like, "Well, you know, you're at eXp. Why are you being so biased? This is obviously just, you know, a whole thing that you're putting on here." But listen, if Real's structure, compensation structure company was better, I would go there. If I could make more money at Real, I would go. Trust me, I've ran the numbers. If there is any company out there where I can do more, make more money, and have more financial freedom and time freedom, I will go there. All right. It doesn't matter to me what the brokerage name is. It matters to me what the income looks like for my family, what my freedom looks like, how I can build my group, all that stuff. So this isn't about like one thing versus another. This is just a conversation that's come up multiple times. So I'm trying to address it on this video. But trust me, I could go to any brokerage I want, but I'm at eXp because it checks all the boxes for making more money, having more time freedom, doing things the way I want to do it, building out my team, having more support, more structure. So that's why I'm there. If Real could provide that and had a better system, I would go. So let's sum a lot of this up. So what do I mean, who do I think should go to each brokerage? Because I think there is options. Honestly, if you're a low producer, part-time, doing a couple deals a year, maybe something like that, Real is going to be financially better for you because of the split. And, you know, you can make a couple $1,000, probably more there in the year if you're a low producing agent, not doing anything, just based on production. We're not going to break down rev share and stock and all that stuff again. Rewind it if you want to watch it again. But just based on production, selling homes, if you're a low producer, yeah, then I think, you know, you'll make more money at Real, just being transparent. So who do I think should be at eXp? Well, I think agents who are or want to be top producers or top producers someday. Agents who want additional value on top of the brokerage model to build their business and scale it from people who have done it before them. I think it's agents who want to retire and not have to do deals ever again and retire off of their revenue share. I think it's people who want to be part of the fastest growing brokerage in history. So there's a lot of people that I think eXp is perfect for. So there we go, guys. That is my honest opinion, my honest breakdown of everything inside of both brokerages side by side. I've tried to be as transparent as possible. A lot of time has gone into researching all of this, a lot of time. But if you want to chat more about this, the Calendly link, my Calendly link is in the description and in the pinned comment below. So you can just click on that, book a call if you want to chat more about it. But again, Just look at things. That's the whole point of this video, really, is to say, look at things. Don't just base your decisions off emotions, because that typically can lead to a downfall. Okay, so look at things, break things down, make sure that you're making the right decision for you and your family. That is the most important thing. Okay, so if you want more information, reach out to me. I'd love to chat with you. Otherwise, please like, comment, subscribe. That would be awesome. And I will see you again soon.